But
There we go. Yep. We'll wait maybe till 5 after, let people join, and then we can start. Eric, I'm going to let you introduce yourself so I don't embarrass myself by trying to pronounce your last name. I think you said Sitar, right? Is that right? Okay. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. You're more than welcome to introduce me, or I can introduce myself.
Okay. All right. I think we can get going here. Thank you all for attending tonight's Parkview Avenue reconstruction meeting. My name is Nolan Bergstrom, community planner in the Community Planning and Economic Development Department. We'll go through some introductions here shortly. Just want to lay out a couple things. We'll also get to it during the presentation, but if you have any questions for this meeting, please use the Q&A function in Zoom. Should be at the same bar that has your muting and video functions. We're going to use that to help streamline this meeting. And this really is going to be more of an informational meeting. And if we need to go to 8:30, we will, but we want to be sensitive of everyone's time as well. If we get to all the questions, or if there aren't any questions, we'll adjourn a little early and let everyone enjoy the rest of their evening. So yeah, let's get this thing kicked off here. Okay, so just the housekeeping stuff. We're going to use this Q&A function. You can just click on it and ask a question at any point during the meeting. We'll address those questions at the end of the presentation. If you know some people who weren't able to attend tonight, but would still like to learn more information, have no fear. This meeting's being recorded and will be uploaded to the City of Kalamazoo's YouTube page. And the meetings has a hard cutoff at 8:30. I don't know if we'll need to go that long, but that is the hard cutoff. If we don't get to everybody's questions, we'll make sure to put up an FAQ or something similar and host that online for reference later. So just going to go through the agenda real quick. We're going to start with some introductions. Some public services staff are here, as well as a member of public safety. We'll go through the background of the project, what the planned improvements are, what you should expect as a resident or a concerned citizen during the entire phasing of this project, and then we'll get to Q&A. So I'll let everyone introduce themselves. I'll say I'm Nolan Bergstrom again, community planner, community planning and economic development department.
And I am Anthony Ladd, the Public Works Division Manager.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dennis Randolph, and I'm the city's traffic engineer.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Eric Sitar, Senior Civil Engineer.
Good evening, everybody. Matt Huber, Assistant Chief Public Safety.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And the contractor for this project is Peters Construction, and the consultant on the project is Hurley and Stewart. So moving on to the background, Anthony, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, Nolan, thank you. So I want to talk about this project. I imagine this is not the first time a lot of you have heard that we were doing this project. Last year, we had anticipated getting this project off the ground. And then similar to many other things in our lives, COVID had a significant impact on some of the water components that we were able to get, causing a high markup on the components themselves, and then also delayed lead times in getting those delivered to where we didn't feel comfortable to where we could get the project completed in time for the construction season. So we opted to move that project to this year. This is the same exact project as last year. The only thing that's changed is just another year older. But for many of you, this will be a rehash. And then for those of you that have never heard about this project before, welcome. We're excited to be finally talking about it and ready to get this underway. Like I said, this project was postponed from last year, and this is a corridor that that we've recognized from several aspects. It's road condition, the condition of the water infrastructure underneath the road. And also, I think we'll get here in the next slide, something that was highly, talked about and planned for in the adjacent neighborhood plans that exist. There's the three neighborhoods that are directly affected by this project: Oakwood, Oakland Winchell, and Parkview Hills. In neighborhood plans and conversations with each of these neighborhoods, I think there was a lot of concern about Parkview Avenue in general, whether it is non-motorized transportation, whether it is the traffic speeds or road condition itself, low-hanging limbs, vegetation, you name it. There's a lot of attention on this project for this street, and we recognize that, and we were able to kind of capture a lot of that in this project. A couple of things that were specifically mentioned as well was creating a safe connection between Oakwood and Oakland Winchell neighborhoods, and the Broadway and Parkview intersections, which we'll get into a little bit more as well. So that was the background of how we got here today. I want to talk about for a second the different facets of this project that make it great, but make it complex from a scheduling aspect, and also how that impacts traffic. We'll get into a little bit later as well. So anytime in the city when we're looking at water main that is a ideal candidate for replacement, we work internally to make sure that all of our assets are being addressed in these corridors if they can. Again, not going to be a surprise to many of you. We did a project similar to this on Oakland Drive between Parkview and Howard Street. We've done that same year, 2 years ago, we did a similar project on Court Street. And last year we did a project on Portage Street, where we are combining our funding and combining the work that needs to be done so that we can have an efficient project, really get in there, get everything taken care of, and end up with a better street that we aren't coming back to make water main repairs for the next year, or having to repave and inconvenience affected residents and businesses again. So this is another one of those projects, and a type of project that we plan on moving forward, doing more of these. It's really a benefit to us from a financial sense, from an asset management standpoint, makes sense, and also makes sense for construction and the surrounding areas. Particularly this water infrastructure from Oakland Drive to Tamsin, which will be the limits of this project, will include new water main, an upsized, upgraded water main. It will include new fire hydrants and new water service lines. Again, this is pretty similar to a lot of our other projects. When we're coming in here replacing water infrastructure, we want to replace everything that we can within that right of way, so that we can know that is a new system that's going to be reliable, and one that we won't have to make emergency repairs for moving forward. Above ground, we will be repaving and restriping the road. Again, the limits of this project will be from Tamsin, which is just west of Greenleaf Boulevard, to Oakland Drive. In addition to a new driving surface, we will be implementing what we call right sizing the vehicle traffic lanes. And that does a couple things for us. One, that's an effort to right size our bike lanes as well. In the city, depending on the age of the street, we have some bike lanes that are narrower than others. So when we're doing these projects, we're addressing that bike infrastructure on the road so that we can right size that and right size the travel lanes as well. And that some factors that go into that are, the type of traffic that we have, the posted speed limits, the speeds that are being observed, and really the function of the road. And this is, again, another project that we're getting into the habit of doing more of these, and really looking through that complete street lens for each of our projects that we do. Just at the end of this year, we were able to complete our very own City of Kalamazoo street design guide that incorporates a lot of these factors and takes into account the use of the road, the affected area, and really what our intended purpose is, to make sure that we're addressing all of these asset classes in the road, and that we're addressing all users of the right-of-way space. In addition to the resurfacing along Parkview Avenue, one of the things that personally I'm extremely excited about are the pedestrian improvements that we're able to add. There is a lot of residences, a lot of sidewalks, a lot of parks in this area, a lot of great places for people to ride bikes to walk to exercise, and having this pedestrian improvement is going to be a drastic change to this corridor. Currently, the only two places to cross that that are designated through pavement marking or a signalized intersection is at Greenleaf Boulevard and at Oakland Drive and Parkview Avenue intersection. So it actually works out from an engineering stance. One of the best places to cross, where you have the flattest grade, the most sight distance, and existing pedestrian infrastructure, is at Barnard and Parkview Avenue and Broadway to the north there. So what we intend to do is to build a pedestrian island, which will be just west of the Barnard and Parkview Avenue intersection, not so close to that intersection to where it'll interfere with vehicles pulling out of Barnard going west, but just a little to the west to where we can make that connection where there's existing sidewalk at Barnard across the street to Parkview Hills. And for those of you that are familiar with that area, and there's no sidewalk across the street. Well, we intend to change that as part of this project. Right across the street from where this crosswalk will go, we will build sidewalk behind that guardrail, behind new guardrail that goes and connects to Broadway, which will allow for a gateway into the Oakland Woods Hole neighborhood for pedestrians, for non-motorists, bicyclists, anybody looking to cross Parkview Hills there. This is a illustrative map of the work that we are intending to do for this project. As mentioned, you can see the pedestrian improvements that I just mentioned about halfway between Greenleaf and Oakland. The repaving and restriping, right sizing the travel lanes to accommodate both vehicular and bicycle traffic in a safe manner. The water service improvements that are much needed along this corridor to replace an aging, smaller water main that has been prone to water main breaks in the past. And again, with our sidewalk on Barnard that we completed last year and intend to build on this year as well. So that talks about what we're going to do as part of this project, but now we can talk about kind of the when and what impacts will be done to traffic, probably what many of you are curious about. Construction will begin on March 21st. Typical policy for our construction projects is 2 weeks before. The contractor will place portable message boards alerting traffic that a construction is going to start on March 21st, that there are going to be impacts to travel. There will be messages displayed. In that 2-week time frame, you will start to see signage, construction signs start to go up, detour signs start to go up, and we will additionally be doing media releases, putting out information on social media and through other means to alert traffic that this project is going to start. But Monday, March 21st is our anticipated start date after conversations with our contractor. We will begin phase 1 immediately, and we'll get into what that means in a second. That is anticipated to be about 2 or 3 weeks. And once that phase is complete, we'll move into phase 2 of the project, which will really account for the majority of this project, which will take us to the end of October, middle to end of October. And we will stay in that traffic pattern through summer to the end of construction. So as I mentioned, phase 1 that'll start on March 21st will begin with a full road closure of Parkview Hills. Fortunately, this is in a very small portion of Parkview to where there really will not be significant local traffic impacts, in that residents will be able to get directly to their house. There will just be a hard closure where you cannot drive from one side or the other to Parkview Avenue. Again, our traffic detours will be put in place to detour commercial traffic, to detour through traffic using Drake Road to Stadium, Howard, Oakland, back down if that's their final destination, if that's where they're going. It's anticipated, similar to our other projects, that traffic will go, in other directions once they get to Drake and Stadium, once they get to Howard and Oakland, to get to their final destination. But this will be a full closure. We will have type 3 barricades at Drake and Parkview, at Oakland and Parkview, to sign to through traffic, to commercial traffic, to non-local traffic. This road's closed. We call that a soft closure, in that traffic will be able to continue on this street, but you've been warned that you cannot go through one end of Parkview Avenue to the other. And at that point, 2 to 3 week time frame, in April, we will move over into phase 2. Phase 2, as mentioned, will be a majority of this project. This is when we will be doing the bulk of our water main replacement and ultimately our road resurfacing. In order to accomplish this work, the water main, to accommodate its requirements for offset distances from other utilities, requires that water main to more or less kind of move north and south on Parkview Avenue. So it's very difficult. It does not go in a dedicated straight line. It goes where it needs to, in correlation with other utilities that are existing currently. So that requires us to bring Parkview Avenue to really only one lane of traffic. And when we were having conversations about the best way to construct this from a phasing standpoint, what made sense from a traffic standpoint, what directionally, what's the best option, we had decided, and also, of course, our conversations with public safety as well. It had been decided that we needed to make this a eastbound only movement, meaning that westbound traffic will not be able to turn onto Parkview Avenue and go west. We will have Parkview Avenue limited to one lane of through traffic going in the eastbound direction. Now, we intend on beginning on the east side of this project limits. That would be at Oakland and Parkview Avenue, and then working our way towards the west as we construct that water main. And there's reasons for that from a construction phasing standpoint. And so because of that, residents of Parkview Hills, until later on in the project, they will be able to turn left and right out of Greenleaf Boulevard there. I imagine that's a concern that many people might have. So, I can't give a definite date on that right now, but we've made that very clear with the contractor, and Peters Construction is a local construction company that we work with, on a lot of projects, and they are very aware of the traffic impacts. So, while we are going to get the work that we need done, we will try to minimize that impact on traffic as we move from east to west constructing that water main. More information on traffic impacts. As mentioned, we will have a signed detour route for through traffic, commercial vehicles. We will be displaying message boards throughout the construction project. If those messages need to change, we will certainly do that. One important note, pedestrians and bicyclists will be able to have access to the sidewalk along Parkview Avenue for most of the work. Again, there are some spot ADA improvements that we do intend to make. We will be posting pedestrian detours as needed, but it's our intention, understanding that that's an important corridor for the community. We intend to try to leave that open as much as possible. And also, once construction starts, for many of you that are familiar with projects in the city or just construction in general, we do acknowledge, the probability of having, through traffic that is using local roads to cut through to get where they need to go. It's not necessarily people that live in that neighborhood, but instead of following the detour, maybe they went too far and missed the detour. They're driving through local residences to get where they need to go, and we're committed in public services and also working with public safety to observe and monitor those conditions, make changes as needed, really put to use temporary traffic control and some of the target enforcement methods that public safety uses, and just really making sure that we're observing traffic, understanding impacts to local roads, and making adjustments as we can. Water service impacts for all city projects. We have a very good line of communication with the contractor and our consultants that will be on the job inspecting the entire time, Hurley Stewart. We want to make sure that we are coordinating any anticipated water shutoffs in order to tie into a side street, make a connection. There are times where we will have to cut that water off for a very short amount of time and then turn it back on once that connection's been made. Again, that's an anticipated, planned procedure. So we know that information. I think we try for at least a 48-hour notice that we get out ahead of time and can put that information out to the community. Once that water comes back on, or if there is an unanticipated disruption to water service, we will issue a boil water notice. And typically, I think we put those out, immediately following the event, and then we notify the public when the boil water notice is over as well. Eric, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we usually plan for a 72-hour, or we notify them to anticipate a 72-hour turnaround on that.
That's correct. Typically 72-hour.
Sure. And again, if it's more or less, we put that back out, but that's the anticipated amount of time when these boil water advisories are issued. So we have some more information here, Nolan, and I think I have a few couple things I wanted to make sure to get out, but I imagine we'll have some questions that come up might be able to answer those. So go ahead.
Yep, we do have some questions. Just for the sake of everyone on the call, this presentation, as well as hopefully a project page, I'm anticipating to get that up early next week, so that whoever missed this presentation, or if you're on the call and just want to go back and look through the slides and get the information again, or share it, that should be available. So that's going to be a page that's on the Imagine Kalamazoo projects page, which a lot of you are probably familiar with. For active boil water advisories, you would follow this link, just kalamazooCity.org/BWA. And then if you want to contact us at all, you can dial 311 or the 269 number, or hello@kalamazooCity.org. And then for any traffic or speeding concerns, those can be submitted at kalamazoopublicsafety.org/traffic. So Anthony, we have some Q&As. Do you want to get to those, and then, or do you want to add some more information first?
Just about started talking while muted. We can do the questions. I guess really to the panel though. I didn't know if there's anything that I might have missed or anything that you wanted to make sure to emphasize as part of this project before we got into those questions. All right, I think we're ready for some questions.
All right. Well, I appreciate Assistant Chief Huber, who's been answering some questions, 2 questions about public safety. But one of the first questions we had was, were there any considerations about adding protected bike lanes with bollards?
Sure. So typically, we are, I guess for this particular project, that was not something that was considered. We have other corridors throughout the city where we are considering separated bike lanes. Usually when you have those kinds of bollards, you want to build a sort of a buffer zone that needs a little more road space than what exists on Parkview Avenue. I think, the ability to get the bike infrastructure that we do have on Parkview Avenue, along with the travel lanes, is, it might not be, we always wish we had more space, but given the space that's on Parkview Avenue, I really think that we're going to be optimizing that for bike infrastructure.
I think, Anthony, another part of that answer is in places where we've used bollards around town, such as Greenleaf or over on Emerald, and we have some bollards up along Kalamazoo, we're putting them in places where the idea of bikes or having bikes or bicycles near traffic is a newer idea. People have been running down Parkview for a long time, and certainly, and I always have to start with what crash data looks like. There hasn't been a problem with bikes. By widening the lanes, certainly will be making it safer and better. But again, there's not a big change. Like people are aware that those lanes are there. We'll just be doing it better now. And that's kind of the thought behind where we put the bollards.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dennis. And I would think too that by narrowing those travel lanes, we're anticipating a better driver behavior.
Yeah, I can tell folks, because you all seen what we've done on Winchell and Greenleaf, and just simply painting the lines, marking some little narrower lanes, we've gotten a reduction in the average speed on those streets of somewhere between 2 and 4 miles an hour. And you say that's not a lot, but that is a lot,
Sure.
Especially when it comes to safety and survivability. If somebody gets hit, their chances of not dying and not having very severe injuries, it is a lot better with just that reduction of 2 to 4 miles an hour. The streets really aren't safer. So, and that's passive, okay? It's not because the police have been out there and helping us do enforcement. That's just because we painted some lines and put some other markings down. So Parkview, I see, is going to benefit by this with the same type of things happening with the narrower lanes, and it's a real good start. If I can get a couple more miles of reduction on the speed out there, I think we'll all be happy.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you both. Next question, you may have answered it a little bit in the previous, but I just want to make sure. Someone asked, other than the lane narrowing, will there be any other traffic calming changes? Parkview speeds tend to be quite high.
Sure.
And I'll just jump in. Speeding is as a traffic engineer, speeding is my concern. I know it's the police's concern too. They've said it, just like I have. Getting people to slow down is one of those long-term efforts we're making around the city. And the efforts begin with us on each road as we rebuild them or repave them or fix them up, taking actions like this to slow folks down. But other than that, at this point, we're not anticipating doing anything else. And I think, again, we're going to be making some changes that should affect the speed in a positive way. And we'll monitor and see what happens with it, and then take another set of steps. And that is the way we operate in the traffic engineering business. It may seem slow or it may seem kind of dumb sometimes, but it works. And our objective is to make streets safer, so we will keep on it. I've been driving on Parkview a lot of years, since the early 90s. I'm kind of vested in it, even though I haven't lived here. I want it to be a good, safe street. And that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. And I think anytime, it's one thing to just have cars go slower, but it's really having drivers be aware and paying more attention to when they are encountering other road users, whether it's bicyclists or having, protected crossings for pedestrians, bringing that awareness to them not being the only users of the street.
All right. Well, thank you for those answers. Next question, this might be a twofold for Dennis and Matt, but what increased law enforcement resources will the city be allocating to the Oakland Drive Winchell neighborhood to address speeders cutting through the neighborhood from Oakland Drive to Stadium and from Stadium Drive to Oakland Drive? So I don't know who would want to take that on first.
Well, I'll jump in because I'm always glad to start talking. But I'll tell you, we're going to be monitoring what's going on there. I'll be driving there. Anthony, all of our staff will be driving around. We'll be driving in the neighborhoods to see what's going on. If there are problems, we're going to do a couple things. We're certainly going to let the police department know, our public safety know about it, and so that they can schedule some enforcement, because they have to do that. We're also going to, if we have to change signs, we will change some signs or add some emphasis signs. That's easy. We can't always anticipate all the things drivers may do. And sometimes we just have to witness it or hear you all tell us what's going on, and then we can respond to that. I'll tell you one thing, though. We've had a number of these jobs, as Anthony mentioned, over the past several years. And they can be real annoying with the dust and the disruption. But at least what I've seen over the years, and certainly last year on the Portage job, which is my first year back here, is that there weren't serious safety problems. And that's what I would hope to do. And we put a lot of signs out. We kept changing the signs. We adapted the signs to what was going on. And that works pretty good. So that's what we'll all be doing. All of us will be out there. I know even Nolan's going to be out there, right? And you'll see us all in our vehicles. So, and you can let us know always if there's a problem. And we'll come out and check it and see what we have to do. That's what we'll do on our side. You know, then the public safety is certainly going to be out there too, doing things.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, we have a full-time traffic officer that plans to be spending a lot of time in the route in your neighborhood, as well as shifting some extra patrols to the neighborhood. In addition to that, we'll work with traffic engineering about setting up our speed trailer signs as well in the areas we're having issues. Big thing for us is please let us know where you're seeing the problems and the time of day. Best place to do is on our website, report that traffic complaint, so we can have that information and coordinate with traffic engineering and our officers to make sure we get some enforcement on there.
Thank you. And again, this presentation you saw will be posted. It's got the links, mentioned for reporting, and that should also be fronted onto a project page too. So we'll make sure you, if you don't know where to go, we'll make sure we help you find out where to go. So thank you for your answers. Next question is, can you discuss the decision to route traffic eastbound rather than westbound in a bit more depth? What went into that decision?
This might be a two-part answer as well, because I know that some conversation was had with public safety on their end. I do think that when you look at traffic patterns of vehicles coming into the city, I think that there are more nodes, what we would say, there are more points of interest, whether it is a resident or a business or school or place of work, in that eastbound direction that drove, when we were having these conversations, that's what we were looking for primarily.
Yeah, I agree, Anthony. I think what we really want is we're looking at the Oakland corridor and certainly the corridors further to the west, serving north and south into the city, and being able to feed traffic directly over into the east to those major corridors is one of our objectives. It's a way to try to at least get people out to those main roads that a bulk of our travel is on.
Sure.
All right. Thank you for that answer, those answers. So moving on, will there be a long-term speed limit reduction on Parkview as a part of the project?
Dennis, do you
We
wanna-
aren't, we aren't anticipating changing the speed signs right now. Again, what I'd like to see is how our changes in the lanes, lane widths, impact speeds. I will tell you this, and I just had a conversation today with the city planner about this, is that I think in the next few years, we're going to be looking citywide at what speed limits are and how we might address them. Again, speeding is a serious problem in Kalamazoo. 30% of our crashes are directly related to speeding every year. So I've got a real concern. But the practical side is that just because we put a sign up doesn't mean that people slow down. And it places a real burden on the police to enforce when people just don't seem to care about the signs often. So it's a problem. I think we're getting ready to gear up and do some real study and discussion about speed limits in general, and certainly would impact Parkview. And like I said, we'll take a look at what happens after we get our job done and traffic returns to normal, and see what's happening with the speeds and go from there.
Certainly, and to build on that, anytime that we get the opportunity to mention speeding or traffic calming elements, or even public safety enforcement, I think it's worthwhile to mention that that not one of these components by itself gives us the result that we're working for. Traffic calming, speeding, it's driver behavior, and when you're looking to change that or bring awareness to the issues that we're seeing with speeding, or not stopping at stop signs or stoplights. The problem is not the stop sign or the stoplight. It's multifaceted, where we certainly have to do our part to narrow that lane, to put that stop sign there, to have those devices, right? It is public safety's obligation to enforce that behavior and make sure that that they're doing their part to that the rules are being followed. But it's also it's a community effort too. We certainly do a lot of talking about it. We hear it from residents. We talk to neighborhood associations, and I think it really takes all of these working in conjunction to change that behavior. It's the people that are speeding, these are it's the same people we pass on the road every day. So, we have to all do our part to change that, that mentality.
You know, but certainly when it comes to the street design itself, signs, how they're put together, we are taking a very aggressive stance in our road projects and making changes that will calm traffic, that will help manage drivers who don't always pay attention or think about what they're doing through the way we put our streets together, how we sign them, how we design them. Very aggressive. And you may say, well, you haven't done a lot for a lot of years, but I know personally for what we got scheduled over the next 3, 5, 10 years, you're going to see some real nice changes in terms of how traffic is dealt with. And hopefully it'll result in general drivers driving better, driving more careful, and making our streets safer. So every job starts with what can we do to calm traffic? And that's not just a story for you all, that's a fact. It's very impressive because not everybody does that in our business, but we are doing it.
All right. Thank you for those answers. So someone wants well, someone asked if you could speak on some of the technical details of the final roadway design. So they were asking, how wide are the lanes? They referenced the NACTO research suggesting 9-foot wide lanes that will naturally induce 35 or 30 mile per hour travel speeds. Is there any consideration for the curb radii being tightened? They're seeing 25 to 30 radii out currently. So lane width and curb radii considerations as a part of the design.
Yeah. Our new street design manual, which is really a wonderful document. I know it's posted up on the web if you want to take a look at it, but it does incorporate many of the policies and guidelines and recommendations that NACTO uses. As a traffic engineer for a long time, I'm happy with that book because it does asks us to design roads the way I've looked at them for a lot of years, and I've worked in cities for a lot of my career. The lanes out there are going to be, I think, 10 feet, 9 feet. We're going to adjust them so that we got 5-foot bike lanes. And so whatever's left, we'll divide up along the lanes. Radii, I don't think there'll be a lot of changes. I haven't seen a lot of need right now, but you're going to start seeing us change. Again, our new manual talks about effective turning radiuses, which means that the curbs themselves are much tighter. 30-foot radius is how I've always designed streets in cities. So that's what we're going to be doing. But you do it where you need to. And you don't just make change to make change, because those changes are expensive. And we still have to be good stewards of the money. We try to make the money go as far as we can, not only for this job, but so we can spend it across the city. That is what we have to do. But are we going to do those things? Yes. And you'll see the changes out here on Parkview. Again, the lanes are what I see as most important. And the widths, that's what's getting me some results. And I think that's what you will feel first. You'll feel things tighten up. And I know bus drivers aren't always crazy about those narrow lanes, but it slows people down. And so that's kind of our big push around the city right now as we look at our projects. So, but we're going to do the other things. You're going to see it.
Okay. Thanks for that answer, Dennis. So someone asked, do you anticipate or do you think there'll be any negative impacts, traffic impacts on Greenleaf Boulevard? Then also asking why the boulevard can't be open to both lanes during the project.
I don't,
Go ahead, Dan.
I'm sorry, Anthony. I don't see any impact, other than construction related. And that'll be right at the intersection. I don't think opening the street back up to 4 lanes would help that particular problem. The problem is we have to tear the street up and dig a hole to put new water mains in. When you dig holes in streets, there's not a lot you can do, but get done as quickly as you can and put it back together. So I think we don't see that happening. We will adjust the traffic signal timing if we need to help traffic. And so our traffic or signal technicians will be, again, they'll be monitoring monitoring all the signals along Parkview there and adjusting them as need be to help traffic move. That's easy. We'll open the box up, change the timing, and keep doing it until things work good. Again, we can't always tell what happened. It depends on how many people change their route, how many people go different ways. I can't anticipate that, but they'll be out there adjusting the signals for you all.
Thanks, Dennis. Someone wants to know, will emergency vehicles be able to travel east to Parkview Hills from the fire station on Parkview? I think maybe they meant west during phase 2 when it's only eastbound traffic, but maybe Matt can speak more to that.
That part we haven't finished yet. We're gonna have to work with traffic engineering on seeing what part we can go and what part we can't be on. So that's still in the works, but we're well aware of it, and our staff will make sure that we get people there when it's needed.
Great, thanks. I think this question was already answered. Law enforcement increase their presence to enforce neighborhood speed limits. I would just follow the advice of an earlier question and report anything you see, any dangerous behavior, and like others have mentioned, staff will be out there sort of monitoring too as the project moves forward. Someone asked, by reducing the size of the lanes on Parkview and adding bollards, I don't think any bollards are being added at this time, but you force drivers to drive over the same sections of road so much that we are getting horrible potholes. Is the city planning to take care of these potholes more regularly, especially as we cannot try to miss the pothole because the bollards are in the way? I'm not sure if they're referencing Parkview or not, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, I think regardless of lane width, we have a commitment to performing routine maintenance on our streets, committed to good governance of maintaining this asset, whether it's Parkview Avenue or anywhere. I can speak, more broadly as far as the city goes. We have not only for this year, we have our first. It's a more substantial type of patching project that will be let soon and conducted this summer. In addition to that, we have increased the amount of patching opportunities that we have through our in-house crews. And I think one of the things that really set us back last year, again, I don't mean to blame COVID, but I can't help but think it was because of it. Our seasonal employment, we did not have a single seasonal employee until the fall, which that is usually the primary activity for those seasonal employees.
Okay, great. And I think it was, they clarified that they meant Greenleaf. So, but good answer for pothole management. Someone asked, we hope to have a sidewalk on Laird. However, a fire hydrant may be in the way at this time. Can the fire hydrant be repositioned to allow for future sidewalks? So sort of a sidebar to Parkview Avenue, but.
We can certainly take a look at potentially relocating a fire hydrant. Can't make any promises at this time, but we'll be sure to give that a look.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Someone asked, just commenting that Parkview, especially in the dip, because of sand debris accumulation near Asylum and near Asylum Lake, is one of the scariest places I've ever ridden a bike. I used to bike commute to the Parkview campus, but I would never again ride on the Parkview bike lane after too many close passes at 45. So I guess just a comment on the speed. My apologies. I thought there was a question there, but good comment. The traffic heading north on Drake, just north of Stadium, is tough to deal with right now. Will those lights near that corner be adjusted to allow for the additional traffic heading that way? Stadium Drive traffic is often held up by lights on Drake, so possible detour impact.
Sure, and I think for any kind of coordinating, well, I mean, for Drake and Stadium, that is actually a MDOT, Department of Transportation signal. I would also say that for any traffic congestion effects that might happen as part of this detour, that will be dispersed by the time that we're to arrive at Stadium and Drake, to where that wouldn't be a significant impact at that point. But certainly if it, like Dennis says, we're going to be monitoring that. If it does become a problem, we will reach out to MDOT and work with them to adjust as necessary.
Okay, thanks. Dennis, this might be a question better suited for you, but someone was saying, I recently read through the KCSO annual report and found that over 40% of their annual dispatches were motor vehicle related calls, traffic stops and traffic crashes specifically. I don't have the same data for Kalamazoo Public Safety, but I suspect it's very similar. Just in the last 5 years, there have been 71 crashes on the stretch of road that is less than 1 mile in length. So could you please describe what specific design features calm traffic naturally and ease the burden on our public safety officials?
Sure. Well, I think we've mentioned some of them. Narrowing lanes works pretty good. It's surprising what a little paint can do. Doing things on like changing radiuses on curbs that force people to slow down, so that when they turn a corner, they can't get a running start. That works well. And like I said, we're going to be, our new design manual says that's what we're going to be doing, and we will. Over the years, I found that there are certain traffic control devices that do help. Stop signs everywhere don't always help slow people down. In fact, people do tend to speed up on each side of a stop sign. So that isn't work. The same thing with signals. They'll tend to run the signals or run through the ambers. And so that doesn't always slow folks down. But what we're finding is that we've been putting up, and you may have seen some of these last year, we've been putting up large pedestrian signs, oversized signs. And so I'm going to be doing a lot more of oversized signage. It's in your face. So it's hard for a driver to ignore a 4x4 foot sign that is lime green. It grabs their attention. Things like that work. If you go up on Park, you'll see some rectangular flashers, and those are working pretty good. Do they make people stop at that crossing? Not necessarily, but do they acknowledge that they're there? Yeah, if you count the taillights going on when they flash, they're working. So we're trying a number of different lighted devices like that, some with red LEDs on them, some with the flashers like that. And you'll be seeing more of those around the city this year and as we go on. I think we're having some good success with them. For urban areas, on major type streets. Again, Parkview isn't a local street. So putting in speed humps really isn't the answer for a street like Parkview or Oakland or streets like that. They will cause more problems than solve. They won't solve any, I don't believe. So we won't be doing something like that. On more neighborhood type streets, I think you're going to see things like mini roundabouts, where I think we're going to try some chicanes out again, maybe some selected one-way streets, things like that. But again, the way the business is going right now, traffic engineering, there's new ideas coming out almost yearly. And I guess in my viewpoint, I want to try them out. As soon as I know that they aren't going to cause a worse problem, then I think I'm going to cure. Okay, that's always a danger. If I make a mistake, people get hurt, and we just don't want that to happen. You know, I've got a problem now with people getting hurt on our streets, and I can't make it worse. But we are pretty open to hearing ideas. So again, let us know if you've got an idea. I'm glad to hear. And I regularly talk with the folks at Western Michigan in their traffic engineering in the civil department, and we talk about research and what is good and what can work. And I know I've certainly got the freedom here at the city. They give me the freedom to try things out, but I still have to follow good engineering rules, so that sometimes it makes me slow down a little bit, but you have to. Let us know what you see or hear.
Great, Dennis. So I think we've gotten to all the Parkview specific questions. I'll, Anthony, I don't know if you had some information you may wanted to add to, or I thought you said you had some extra information.
Yeah, we really got about everything covered there. I just, we will be reaching out to residents that will be directly affected. We did some outreach last year with anticipation that this work would happen. But I think in the next few weeks, we'll be coming back out to have specific conversations with those neighbors adjacent to the work that we're needing to be done for some of our sidewalk work. And then any affected businesses directly on Parkview Avenue as well. We'll be going out and having conversations with them.
Okay, great. And I will point out, I think the original media release for this meeting stated the project would start in April. As we pointed out here, it's actually starting March 21st. So I just wanted to point that information out again. I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. Last call, any one of our panelists have any more information they'd like to add or share? Okay. We do have a question. Has the city communicated with Consumers Credit Union about the start of the project vis-a-vis the start of theirs at Oakland and Parkview? Yeah, I've sent emails to Oakland Plaza businesses and reached out to the neighborhood association directors to share information. In the coming weeks, I can reach out again and try to reach Consumers Credit Union and make them aware of the project, but we'll also be accelerating outreach, with water, with signage, with more media releases, social media. So if there are any contexts that any attendees know that think they should know, please share all the information that we've been sending out. We can really combine efforts and make sure, residents are aware, and so, we can try to avoid conflicts that way. So good question. Good. Somebody gave some contact information. Thank you. We will update that with our contact list. Somebody also asked the street design guide. That should be, we're still building the project page for that. So that Imagine Kalamazoo projects link, keep looking there. A page dedicated to that street design manual should be up
Yeah.
soon, and definitely look at it once it's up. It's
Yeah.
a big document. Take your time. Yeah, and look at all the different design elements that are possible.
Yeah, it's a very good document, I have to say, and I wasn't here for its development. Other folks get credit for that. Anthony's one of them, but it is a very good traffic engineering guide that is concerned first with people and safety. And I think you'll really like what you see in that.
All right. I think that's all the Parkview specific questions we have for this evening. At that, I'll just thank everybody again for attending. We really do appreciate your comments and questions. That's sort of how we work out, bridge that divide between us and residents and make sure our projects, move smoothly. So, again, look for all the information from tonight being posted early next week, and the city's YouTube page should have this presentation up as well, in case you have some friends who would like to take a look. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.